Our next speaker, in January of this year, in a simple yet profound and emphatic statement, "I am a gay man," became Ireland's first openly gay member of Cabinet and a minister. And I'm pleased to say that I'm not the only gay in the Fine Gael village. It's the Minister for Health, Leo Varadkar.
Thanks very much, Deputy Buttimer, Taoiseach. Thanks very much for your leadership on this issue and so many other issues in the past 4 years. Minister Coveney, thank you for inviting me to speak here today. And Minister Fitzgerald, thank you so much for getting us to this point. I think when the history books are written, you'll go down as one of the most reforming ministers in the history of the state, having enshrined children's rights in our constitution some years ago, and now bringing us on another major step, which is this amendment put before the people now, offering equality before the law for all our citizens. You all know the next year is 2016, the 100th centenary of the Easter Rising. And a lot of really interesting things are happening for that commemoration, and I'm really enthusiastic about Minister Humphrey's programme around that. But I think what this amendment has the opportunity to do is something really significant too. It can marry the warm idealism of the 1916 proclamation with the somewhat cold realism of the 1937 Constitution. And that document, the proclamation, and it was a visionary document at its time, says that the Republic guarantees religious and civil liberty, equal rights and equal opportunity to all of its citizens. That sentiment didn't quite make it into the 1937 Constitution. This is an opportunity 100 years later to put that right. I don't want to speak for too long because I know others have spoken before me and others will want to speak. But I just want to emphasise how important this referendum is for people who are members of the LGBT community. Initially, a few months ago, I didn't feel as passionate about this as I do now. And that's probably because of somebody who's not involved in a long-term relationship. It's not something that affects me personally or directly, or at least not yet. But I do know that if this referendum is defeated when the votes are counted on May 23rd, I'll be absolutely devastated. It'll be worse than losing an election or even losing my seat. And I think that'll be true for hundreds of thousands of people and their families as well. Because a no vote will essentially be a majority voting to decide that a minority in their country doesn't have the right to be equal and are not equal. It says that we're good enough to be government ministers, to educate children, to nurse the sick, to sit in judgment on people in courts, but not good enough to marry the man or woman that we love. And I think that will make it very difficult for people who are not out yet to come out. I think it'll make it extremely difficult for young people who are currently grappling with their sexuality. And I think it'll make it very difficult for the very many lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender citizens who live abroad or felt they had to go abroad, who are now perhaps thinking of coming home. I think would make them think twice and would make it very difficult for them to decide to resume their lives here in Ireland. I know the issue of families has become an issue a little bit in this referendum. This isn't what the referendum is about, of course. But there has been a sort of suggestion, I think, from some of the posters that were alluded to earlier on and from other parts of the debate, that if it's not a man married to a woman who've conceived their children naturally, that somehow it's not a real family. And I don't agree with that. We've always had different types of families in Ireland, one-parent families. 30,000 children this year will be born to parents who are not married, or not yet married. We have people who've been brought up by their grandparents, by their aunt and uncle. We have people who are adopted, and we have people who've had difficulty having children and have conceived with the help of IVF. So we've always had different types of families in Ireland, and families are different. They're all different. But the question we have to ask is, are they equal? And I believe they are. And I believe the vast majority of people in Ireland believe that all of our different types of families are in fact equal. And the capacity to be a good parent is determined by your parenting skills and your capacity for love, and not your sexual orientation. So I firmly believe that the Irish people share those views, and I hope that will result in a yes vote on May 22nd. Thank you very much.